welcome to the Pasks of Pen Hen. It's mid-September now, so as you know, in the polytunnel we've got about 120 tomato plants. So I've been making lots of tomatoey preserves, so tomato and tomatillo curries, just plain tomato sauces, pasta sauces, so that's with onions, courgettes, some of the peppers that we've got, garlic from the allotment. Everything's from the allotment, all the herbs are from the allotment. In this video I'm just making a plain tomato sauce with a San Marino tomato, so the plum tomatoes, which are a really firm, fairly dry tomato, so they're very good for doing thicker sauces. This has no herbs or anything in, it's just got some salt and pepper in seasoning. So once all the tomatoes are picked, they're thoroughly washed, any stalks are taken off and any funky bits are chopped off. So as you know, we've had a bit of a slug problem, so there's some munched off bits, so I tend to cut those off. You see a lot of the time with tomatoey recipes, people will put a little cross on the tomatoes and plunge them into boiling water, peel the tomatoes, cut the tomatoes, take out the seeds, cut out the cores. I haven't got the time to do that, and I think you lose a lot of the nutrition of the tomato that way, and you also need a lot more tomato to make a sauce. So I just use the whole tomato. When the tomatoes have all been nicely washed, they're blended up. I have done it another way, so that I've cooked the tomatoes down and then blended them. You tend to find that I found that when I did it that way, I had to re-cook the tomatoes down because a lot of more fluid came out of them, a lot more of the tomato juice. But if you do it that way, one batch that I did, I sieved off the thick tomato paste and had the juice, and the juice made the most intense tomato soup I've ever had in my life. Absolutely fantastic. So once all the tomatoes here are all blitzed up, they're put into the big cook pot and cooked down until they get to the thickness that you desire. I haven't done any of this type of preserving before. I've made jams and pickles and chutneys and things in the past, but not preserving on this scale. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on how-tos with these. So the jars, which they're quite expensive and outlay initially, but they'll last for years and years and years, so they're really good for that. So the jars are washed thoroughly and then heated in an oven for at least 10 minutes to sterilise them. The lids and the rings, so the little flat lids and the rings, are simmered just in water for at least 10 minutes again, so that they're sterile.
All you gotta do is just wiggle a bit, wiggle a bit, wiggle a bit.
Excuse Becky in the background, she's having a moment. So just checking the sauce here. It's all go-y, you know what we're like. You've seen our videos before. A little bit of the cray-cray. So the jars are filled using a wide-necked funnel. So filled to about 1 inch of the top. When all the jars are filled, they're wiped with a dry cloth on the top just to make sure there's no food on it, so that you get a really good seal on the rubber ring of the lid that goes on. The screw top is then put on till it's fairly tight, sort of finger tight they say, which is, I don't know what that means, it's tight enough. And then as the jars and the contents cool down, by the magic of science, it causes a vacuum. So you have all your little jars on a table. So I put them on a towel on the table. I saw an Italian lady making tomato sauces, and she said to cover up the jars so they don't cool down too quickly. So I put a towel underneath, put a towel on the top, and as the jars have got little compression seals on, so little dippy lids. So as the vacuum starts going, you hear all your little lids popping, which is really, really satisfying. So you'll see in a minute just a selection of the stuff that I've made.